In Venezuela, President Nicolas Maduro announced the release of 16,236 credit opportunities for women, young people, and digital entrepreneurs, strengthening the social economy of the nation. In Palestine, the Israeli genocide in Gaza continues. Occupation troops committed 3 new massacres, killing at least 47 Palestinians in the last 24 hours. In Russia, the government denounced a Ukrainian attack on Crimea on the Day of the Holy Trinity. Hello, welcome from the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the TeleSur studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. On Saturday, Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro announced the release of 16,236 credit opportunities for women, young people, and digital entrepreneurs. He made the announcement while visiting a parish west of Caracas. President Maduro said allocating such resources will support, for instance, people running a supply store, textile shop, and those in service areas, people who in turn pay taxes. He added that such sectors deserve recognition and support for the role they play in the nation's economy. The President of Guatemala, Bernardo Arevalo, and the President of Honduras, Xiomara Castro, who is visiting her neighboring country, reached important agreements on key bilateral issues. Both heads of state agreed on the need to seek joint solutions to common challenges during a meeting with their respective working commissions. They made progress on migration, climate crisis, and security, among other areas. They also agreed to review the mechanisms for the management of the Motagua River basin shared by both nations. The head of state of the host state highlighted the good state of relations between Guatemala and Tegucigalpa. Guatemala and Honduras have built a solid and dynamic neighborly relationship based on a policy of mutual respect and trust on the principle of good faith, shared responsibility, and the search for solutions that benefit the people.
We have agreed with the President that in the second half of this year, a meeting of the Bilateral Commission will take place, which will allow us to develop in-depth control what has already been advanced in this bilateral agenda and reach new agreements in the search for a cooperative, joint and effective solution to these problems. Issues such as the phenomenon of migration, which we share with other countries in the region, climate change, the customs union, and others. In fact, it is important to point out that during today's meeting, 2 collaboration agreements have already been signed.
For her part, the Honduran president thanked her Guatemalan counterpart for his support in her proposal for the reactivation of the Central American Integration System, CICA, reiterated the importance of addressing migration for a human view.
The challenges are much greater, but there is strength in unity. And today I want to thank you for accepting this invitation to reactivate the CICA. Again and together, we can face these realities that we have in different areas. In the environment, as you say, a few days ago we had fires, droughts, and today our countries are suffering from floods. But also the issue.
In Cuba, the President and First Secretary of the Central Committee of the Communist Party, Miguel Diaz-Canel, toured the province of Matanzas in the west of the island. During the trip, the President had the opportunity to visit the municipalities of Colón, Cárdenas, Jovellanos, and Hawaii Grande. He visited health, social, and production centers. The head of state toured the streets of several cities of the province, accompanied by their inhabitants, with whom he was able to exchange on the most priority issues. He heard from the protagonists how they organize themselves to face the difficulties posed by the illegal sanctions and call on them to join efforts to move forward. In the United States, at least 1 person has reportedly been killed in a shooting at a Louisville nightclub in Kentucky. According to a police report, another 7 people were wounded. The shooting occurred at approximately 1 a.m. local time. The dead victim was a 40-year-old man who has been identified as Joseph Bowers, who died on the spot. Out of the other 7 people wounded, 1 is in serious condition, while the 6 others sustained minor injuries. The Homicide Division of the Louisville Police Department has opened an investigation into the incident. Let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at TeleSur English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. Those stories coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back. In Palestine, in the last 24 hours, the Israeli occupation forces committed 3 new massacres against civilian population, leaving at least 47 people killed in the Gaza Strip. Health authorities reported that the occupation attacks in the last hours left at least 121 people wounded. Also, authorities warned that the occupation is blocking the access of rescue teams and ambulances, endangering the lives of the injured. The number of Palestinians killed by Israel increased to 37,598 after the beginning of the siege in October 2023, most of them women and children. In Palestine, the Wall and Settlement Resistance Commission accused the government of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of intensifying the theft of Palestinian land in the occupied West Bank. A statement issued by the institution denounced that since the arrival to power of the cabinet at the end of 2022, radical changes were approved to promote the expansion plans of the settlements, occupying and stealing more and more Palestinian lands. The Commission also condemned the forced displacement of civilians in various communities to expand settlements in the occupied territories, actions considered illegal by the international community and several United Nations Security Council resolutions. To date, Israel has invaded close to 2,700 hectares of land in the occupied West Bank. Also in Palestine, Israeli occupation forces killed at least 5 people in a shelling of the headquarters of the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine Refugees located southwest of the Gaza Strip. According to Palestinian authorities, a fighter jet attacked the guard room at the main eastern gate of UNRWA headquarters. They also said that 7 others were wounded, including children and women, who were transferred to the city's Baptist hospital for medical attention. According to the latest reports, the Israeli aggression against the Gaza Strip has so far caused the death of more than 37,000 Palestinians and injured more than 85,000 others. We stay in Palestine. Israeli forces detained more than 20 Palestinians in the occupied West Bank, where organizations defending the rights of Palestinian prisoners confirmed that the Israeli occupation forces carried out a series of arrests in the West Bank, detaining at least 20 people, including minors and high school students. They also denounced the ill treatment accompanying the arrests, including beating, threats against their families, and damage to their property. These organizations denounced that the number of Palestinians arrested in illegal raids since October 2023 amounts to more than 9,300 in the West Bank. The Iranian government moves forward with the development of their national currency to carry out financial transactions with other countries. According to the Iranian Central Bank authorities, the idea is still under development, while stressing that the first project in this respect will be launched soon with Russia. The initiative was presented at a ceremony for the inauguration of a project to introduce the digital rial in the nation, a mechanism that began to be developed 3 years ago with the participation of Iranian banks. This initiative has entered the stage of widespread testing. People will now be able to make purchases and transfer funds by using the digital rial. And in Egypt, the government has withdrawn licenses from over a dozen tourism agencies accused of involuntarily causing the death of hundreds of people during the Hajj pilgrimage to the Mecca. According to media reports, up to 1,000 pilgrims died in Saudi Arabia on their way to Mecca. However, the Prime Minister's office in charge of handling the crisis has only confirmed 31 deaths. According to reports, most of the victims succumbed to exhaustion caused by the high summer temperatures as they trekked through the desert to Mecca to avoid arrest or deportation. Travel agencies are accused of deceiving clients by providing them with personal visit visas instead of the Hajj visas, which would have entitled them to receiving treatment at Saudi hospitals. We now have a final short break coming up, but before we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience. You can scan the QR code on screen to join directly. and share the link to reach more people. Constant news coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean as well as the rest of the world. Stay connected and informed with TeleSur. Financial break, go away. Welcome back. In Russia, the government denounced a Ukrainian attack on Crimea on the day of the Holy Trinity. Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova said that Kiev choosing to attack Crimea on the day of the Holy Trinity is a sign of hatred towards Russia. She said it was not a coincidence the day was chosen as a sign of hatred towards Russian culture, orthodoxy, and Christianity. The diplomat also said this is not the first time Ukraine chooses to attack Russia on a holiday with the purpose of maximizing impact on civilians and to instill panic. On Sunday, the governor of the city of Sebastopol, Mikhail Razvozhaev, reported a Ukrainian attack with cluster munitions against the Crimean Peninsula. According to the authorities, during the attack, at least 5 people were killed and 124 were wounded. According to the governor Razvozhaev, 5 planes were destroyed over the sea near the city, while fragments of destroyed aircraft fell in the area, affecting the families in the area. Authorities confirmed that the situation in the peninsula is difficult and emergency teams were dispatched, who transferred some of the victims to a hospital. Meanwhile, in China, several flooding is reported in several provinces of the country caused by the persistence of heavy rains. According to local media, parts of central and southern China have been affected by heavy rains that have so far left more than 50 people dead and multiple damage. The heavy rains caused landslides and floods that severely damaged 8 townships in Pingyuan County, where the most recent death occurred. Amidst this situation, more than 15,000 people were evacuated in Wuguangxi City and over 7,000 in Zhejiang. According to the National Meteorological Center forecast, hail and strong storms are expected in several central provinces, so local authorities issue a red alert. In Kazakhstan, authorities evacuated 8 people after a fire broke out in a residential building in the capital city of Astana. The Ministry of Emergency Situations and Astana Fire Brigade reported the successful evacuation of 8 citizens. Authorities determined that the fire originated in the other cladding of the 26th floor of the building, which houses an administrative complex. According to a statement, the authorities set up an operations center near the incident scene, while some 16 rescue teams continued to evacuate civilians. In Italy, the death toll from a shipwreck off the coast of Calabria on Sunday, June 16, rose to 35, while the search for 25 missing people continues. A spokesman for the Coast Guard Service stated Saturday that as a result of the rescue work involving mainly the Dattilo and Corsi vessels, 34 bodies were recovered from the waters of the Aegean Sea. According to the United Nations, these accidents, which occur some 120 nautical miles east of the coast of the Calabria municipality of Rosella Ionica, brings to more than 800 number of deaths so far in 2024 in the waters of the Mediterranean Sea. And in Nigeria, United Nations agencies are stepping up response to the cholera outbreak. The United Nations Children's Funds, the World Health Organization, and the International Organization for Migration are working together to provide information and educate people in view of the 300 reported cases of cholera in Nigeria. UNICEF said the cholera outbreak has hit people who already had health issues. The UN organization is urging people to raise their level of awareness about the danger of the disease and about the need for preventive measures to tackle its spread. Faith, Signs of Loyalty is the new proposal of the Palomas project. The production house of audiovisuals for social activism was presented at the emblematic Yara Cinema in the Cuban capital. Our correspondent, Fabiola Lopez, has the details.
It is the first big screen presentation of the most recent creation of the Palomas project. Women of Faith, Signs of Loyalty is a documentary by Lisette Villa, Sergio Cabrera, and Ingrid León. which tell the life stories of 10 Cuban women of diverse religious expressions and their potential participation in the country's pluralistic debate. According to the Academy, a work with important pedagogical contributions.
It's a documentary to think about ourselves, about formal education, and about other issues like feminism, equality, human rights, equity, development, social justice. So it ranges from institutional education to other aspects, not so formal, but that require from a very young age that children learn how to dialogue, that they learn how to communicate, how to contribute in different ways to the construction of a project such as the Cuban nation.
How does one live and feel Cuba from these other ways of living? What role does spirituality play in the construction of a nation? What role have women played in this diverse process in Cuba? Are some of the questions answered by the life stories of women of faith who have been sometimes silent, sometimes ignored, but always present, active, and constant.
The documentary claims the idea of a permanent, active dialogue between the political system, civil society, the state, civil society, and what the religious community, the different religious denominations, the cults, the fraternal associations can do in terms of that civil society, of that interaction, concerning the political system.
Perfect editing, unsurpassed technique, a reflection of the real Havana with its daily stories, a call to live in peace in a diverse Cuba, and a human rights documentary, where some of the expression of guests, experts, and academics in the debate that took place after the screening of the audiovisual.
It touches upon issues that are at the center of the national debate. It shows a diverse Cuba that, in spite of differences, it bets for unity. There are important issues, for example, hope. After watching this documentary, one comes out with a lot of hope. I always remember Argentinian Teresa Parodi saying, "Undefeated hope sustains us." I believe that we have to have a lot of hope to sustain us as a nation.
The purpose of Women of Faith, Signs of Loyalty, said the director of the Palomas project, Cristel Vila, was to create with this work a documentary that calls for a critical thinking of social and civic reparation.
Fabiola López, TeleSur, La Habana.
Like this, we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website, telesurenglish.net. So join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSur English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.
From the south,